Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Time Machine. I'm Harper, and recently it's come to my attention that people don't really want to watch the introductions to my videos. So, with that in mind,
I didn't go to art school. I had no experience, no portfolio, and I didn't even know how to animate. Was there some luck involved in getting the job? Yes. Did I deserve it? In a lot of ways, probably not. But I tried anyway, and I got it. Sadly, my Cinderella story has a bummer ending that may leave you feeling hollow for days. I quit drawing when I was about 16 because I got my driver's license and became obsessed with muscle cars. I still drew goofy cartoons on my school papers, including obscene adjustments to the original artwork of the now famous Peachy folders. But if it didn't have 4 on the floor, or at least 4 wheels, I wasn't really that interested. I took a few art classes in high school, but the teacher had checked out a long time ago and didn't really care about the class. He had an assistant do most of the work, and I thought it was more fun to piss off the teacher's aide by drawing or painting weird stuff that didn't fit the assignments. I think I got a C in that class. I was okay at drawing and liked it well enough, but I'd never thought of doing it for a living. And a good thing, too, because newsflash, for most of us, it doesn't make enough money. So fast forward 8 years later, and surprise, I'm working a minimum wage job that I hate, living in a sketchy part of town, and wondering just what the hell I'm going to do with my life. I was 25 years old and trying to catch up by taking a couple classes at the local community college. The writing class was decent, but the 100-level art classes I was forced to take were completely lame. A real snore fest with stupid assignments that were hard to care about. The year was 1996, and in the meantime I had moved past the car phase, through the working out at the gym phase, and had rediscovered my interest in art by making comics. Me and a buddy were working on our first one at the time. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be, and trying to get published back then wasn't even in the realm of possibility. Another friend of mine was at the big state university studying important art stuff. I think he was the one who told me that Don Bluth and Gary Goldman were opening an animation studio for 20th Century Fox in the big city a couple hours north. I read an article in the paper, wow, you are seriously old, dude, that said the studio was looking to hire a bunch of artists. Thinking about it now, I had no business even applying for that job. My work was pretty terrible, and my so-called portfolio was a joke. I didn't know anything about animation. I mean, I knew there were a bunch of drawings on cells or something like that, and that's how they made Saturday morning cartoons, 101 Dalmatians, Rikki Tikki Tavi, and Heavy Metal. But beyond that, I really had no idea. I knew it was a long shot to get a job like that, but what the hell? I had nothing to lose. I got hold of the name and address of the person to send your stuff to and tried to cobble together a portfolio. It was some really bad comic pages, stiff pencil drawings, and sloppy cartoons that had no theme or cohesion. It was a giant steaming turd in a black zipper case that cost me half a week's pay. I sent it off to the big city with crossed fingers and no hope in hell. Weeks went by. Long, agonizing weeks, working my crappy job and wondering. After a while, I stopped rushing to my mailbox when I got home. Oh well, I figured as much. I'm sure there are too many other good artists out there who got the job instead. My feet hurt from a long day of standing on a tile floor in cruel, cheap shoes, helping customers find pens and stationery. And that stupid name tag I had to wear, mocking me, reminding me that I should have gone to college. I opened the tiny mailbox at my apartment complex to find the same old bills and advertisements for 25% off laundry soap and a half-price sale on select duvet covers. I'm not sure why I hadn't done it before, but for some reason that day, I went into the manager's office and asked if I had any oversized mail that wouldn't fit in my box. Actually, yes we do, she said, and handed me a 9x12 manila envelope with bent corners and a big smear across the label on the front. I glanced at the return address and had to suppress the biggest urge to punch her in the face with both fists. How long has this been here? I asked, trying unsuccessfully to mask my complete contempt. Oh, I guess it's been here a couple weeks now, she answered. I wanted to scream in her face, but I got out of there before I was sitting in a cell for murder one. The envelope was from 20th Century Fox. There was a letter inside that said something to the effect of, "Congratulations, you made it through stage 1. Now we want you to do a test to see if you understand the concept of 2D hand-drawn animation." Holy smokes, stage 2? Also, holy smokes, I don't know how to animate. The first page of the animation test packet was a couple paragraphs and simplified drawings of how to do basic animation. How to hold and flip 3 pieces of paper back and forth so you could draw on the front one and make the image look like it's moving. Now, let's remember that this was way back in the olden days and there was no such thing as tutorial videos on YouTube. You couldn't just Google it. I followed the insufficient directions and did the best I could. I remember one of the tests was making a dog's tail wag for maybe 8 frames. Not exactly advanced work. Since my apartment manager didn't tell me about the package 2 weeks earlier, I had to finish both tests that night so I could put them in the mail the next morning in order to make the deadline. More waiting. Finally, I got a letter in the mail that said they wanted to interview me for the special effects team and that I should call the HR department to set up a meeting. A couple weeks later, after sitting in the lobby long enough to forget all of the professional-sounding stuff I had rehearsed, I was called in to the department manager's office. I walk in, shake the guy's hand, and immediately understand how overdressed I am. I'm wearing a long-sleeve button-down shirt with a tie, itchy dress pants, and those same old cruel shoes. The department manager is wearing a concert t-shirt, jeans cut off at the knees, and Doc Marten boots. Oh, and also, he has a mohawk. We smile, sit down, and he starts asking me questions I don't understand. Were the questions about animation? I'm not sure, because he has the thickest New Zealand accent you've ever heard, and speaks so fast that the sound coming out of his mouth is just a buzz to my ears. By the way, he turned out to be a great boss. Super cool dude. Anyway, after a few minutes of concentrating as hard as I can, I start to catch about every third word, and I stumble through the rest of the conversation with a lot of smiling and nodding. I remember driving home from the interview thinking I blew it. No way in hell I'm getting that job. And then, more waiting. And waiting. Weeks went by. I had just gotten home from a morning shift at my super fun job, and the phone was ringing as I opened the door. It was the 20th Century Fox HR department, calling with an offer. Somehow, I was able to keep it together on the phone, but as soon as I hung up, I freaked out. This was the greatest day of my life. A well-paying job, doing something I loved? Does it get any better? I broke the lease on my apartment, moved to the big city, and showed up for my first day of work 6 weeks later. I was assigned a 4x5 cubicle with a desk, a lamp, 3 shelves, and a file cabinet. And I soon found out that my new home was like a remedial high school for dropouts, losers, and misfits. And I mean that as a giant compliment. Seriously. It was a dream come true to be around so many people who loved art, movies, music, and comics as much as I did. Oh, sure, like any workplace, there were a few jerks and cliquey groups, but for the most part, everybody was really cool. And the experienced animators mentored and helped us newbies so much, I'm really grateful for all their time and effort. 300 plus people from all over the world who came together to make great movies. I met so many cool people in my time there, and I'm still best friends with a handful of them to this day, over 20 years later. We were all super hungry for experience. Well, that and the money. We would have secret contests to see who could work the most hours in a week. The majority of us were young back then, so we had the stamina and drive. Sometimes we'd work 16 hours in a row and then take a nap on the floor under our desk for a few hours and then get right back to work. Hey, they were paying time and a half for overtime and double for holidays and some weekends. You can imagine the size of my comics and CDs library. I was there for a total of 3 years, and the first half was pure heaven. I'm talking about monthly catered barbecues with garbage cans full of beer on ice, private screenings of upcoming movies, field trips around the city to practice drawing from life, and all the while, learning on the job and feeling like you were a part of something big and awesome. In those first 18 months, we made our first real comic, I met my future wife, and I bought my first house. Yeah, life was pretty great. And then, austerity measures came to the studio. They fired the COO, put a lockdown on deadlines, and hired what we called a department babysitter who kept watch like a hawk and narked on any infraction of the new rules. Ugh, what a drag. I remember one time we got busted for talking back to the screen and making jokes during the slow parts of a private showing of Akira in the on-site theater. We all got sent to the department manager's office. Who knows, maybe we needed a hawk to finish the movie on time. Either way, they really put the clamp down on fun. From then on, the only thing that mattered was footage, footage, footage. How many drawings did you do today? You're just a cog in the big wheel. Keep it turning, or else. To make matters and my attitude worse, this was about the time I heard the rumor about the infamous quota. Yeah, turns out the state gave big tax breaks and other incentives to Fox in exchange for them to set up their animation operation here. I know this is standard practice everywhere, but the kick in the balls was along with those special provisions, there was also a stipulation that Fox would agree to hire a certain number of residents from the state. I don't know how much of it's true. I mean, I get it, these kinds of deals are made every day, but it just left me a little hollow inside. I wondered if I only got the job because I happened to live in the right state. Probably. But that's the wild card you can't predict. Luck. The premiere of Anastasia and the party after were great. We all got to dress up fancy, look important, and feel just a little bit of that Hollywood spotlight. A few weeks later, knowing the film was a box office stink bomb, everybody was deflated and bummed out. Nobody really felt like working on the next movie, Titan AE. I quit a couple months into production. It was a tough decision. I thought I'd never make that kind of money again, but I was burnt out, disillusioned, and creatively stagnant. I needed a big change. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Stasia Black, Razzmatazz, and Bartocula, aka the Living Romanovs. Hey, if you thought this video was pretty great, you can click on these videos right here and keep the good times rolling. And if you want to see more stuff like this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe, make sure you hit that notifications bell, and that way you won't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.